What is going on, everybody? This is Mr. Morfetto, and I just got done watching My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, the movie, in theaters today. And I just got home, so this is going to be my thoughts on this movie, the things I liked, the things I did not like. And if I think that you should go watch this new My Hero Academia movie, the third My Hero Academia movie thus far. First off, my name is Mr. Morfetto, if you don't know, and if you could like, share, and subscribe to the Mr. Morfetto YouTube page. I review anime, recently a lot of One Piece, My Hero Academia, and much, much more. Naruto, Dragon Ball, you name it, I've probably watched it or I am going to watch it. And My Hero Academia is a big deal to me, at least this year and many, many years going forward, I hope. I just started watching it this year, early in 2021, and I am all caught up in the anime. I am all caught up in the manga. I know where the story's going. I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed with how they handled Season 5 of My Hero Academia, at least the second half of it. I think it was rushed and all combobulated in order and whatnot, and I know that they usually split their animation team up when they make these movies. So one half of the team works on the anime and one half of the team works on the movie, and it would make me very sad if that's a true thing, because I feel like the anime suffered for no reason for a movie that I am about to talk about, My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, that I feel was sort of disappointing. And my least favorite of the My Hero Academia movies so far. I would have to rank the My Hero Academia movies, this one being the worst of the three. The best would have to be the second movie, and the first movie I would put in the middle. And I would have to say, when I first saw the first movie, I was a little underwhelmed. Maybe because Season 2 of My Hero Academia was so good, and I went from that to the first movie, and it was hard to live up to that hype. But now that I've seen this new movie, I feel like I could actually go back and watch that one and have a better time. For the most part. There are good things in My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, but there is a lot of bad things in this movie, and I don't want to sugarcoat it at all. I am not disappointed that I went to theaters to see it. I feel like it would have been more of a drag at home, just because at least in the theater you're locked in. It's a spectacle. It's an event that you can remember. You went to that movie, that anime movie of an anime you really enjoy. I feel like if you've never seen My Hero Academia, you will not really enjoy this movie. Maybe you would, I guess, if you have zero expectations. I need to know in the comments if you went and saw this movie and you've never seen My Hero Academia and you went because your boyfriend or girlfriend made you go. Did you enjoy it? Like, did you enjoy the story? I'm very interested. Let's break this bad boy down. So the movie kicks off with a cult. I cannot remember the name of the cult, like the humanoids or some weird thing. With this blue guy who's their leader, and he hates people with quirks. He thinks there's a quirk apocalypse coming. I think they've kind of mentioned it in the anime, some kind of theory about quirk evolution. It's kind of like the opposite of the cult in season 5 of My Hero Academia with Redestro. Like his whole thing was, I want people with quirks to take over, and the best quirks should rule the world, basically. And in My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, this blue guy's whole cult is about eliminating people with quirks and like stopping them from breeding anymore, basically, so they don't make stronger quirks that are uncontrollable, because the theory is that people are going to keep interbreeding with different quirks, powerful quirks, and then eventually it's going to be too powerful and it's going to destroy the world. So he's going, no, we're going to eliminate most of people with quirks. And pretty much, I'm assuming, because he's got a large amount of people in his cult that have quirks, believe it or not. I'm assuming they're going to be allowed to live and be in his society, but they can't breed. That's my guess, because he doesn't want more powerful quirks. He wants to kill the gene and just keep humans who have no superhuman abilities having babies. That's what I got from it. The thing that bugged me about this guy was that's one of the biggest problems with this movie, I would have to say. I want to say this. So Dragon Ball has a lot of good movies. They're not great. Some of them are good. Some of them are great. But they have a lot of good movies. And I think what makes the Dragon Ball movies memorable isn't necessarily the plot of their movies. But the villains they're memorable. Like, even a villain like Lord Slug. To me, I remember he was unique, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up with that, so I have the nostalgia for it. But it felt like the villain in this movie was so forgettable. In this third My Hero Academia movie, he was so forgettable. So one note, I guess. He was off screen for most of the movie. He was kind of just pulling the strings. But there was a deserter in his cult that dipped out right when they're setting up these bombs of gas that are going to go off, that explode, and they cause a large plume of trigger. If you remember Trigger from the anime, that increases people's quirks and makes them go nuts. And he wants to blow these up in different cities so that they will set off all these quirks and they will kill those people. I'm not sure if they're killing these people, if this trigger kills the people that activate it, or we will have to kill them because they're going to be too dangerous. I couldn't really tell, but when he did it, a lot of people with quirks died, like exploded with power. Either way, that's his plan. He wants to super power up all the people with quirks and turn them into monsters. And basically, if he's not killing them with this gas, it was unclear, but it looked like they were just getting super powered, and some of them were dying from accidentally using their powers or just exploding with power. But not all of them seem like, I don't know. Maybe they did die after the trigger gas, but otherwise, he might be just causing this quirk apocalypse by turning all 80% of the population into super duper heroes or monsters, super villains, turning them into super villains, basically. It's kind of like the My Hero Academia Vigilantes storyline, where they keep injecting random citizens with quirks with this super trigger that turn them into villains temporarily, but it also permanently enhances their quirks. So yeah, his plan is dumb. This dude in My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission. So that's one of the biggest issues with this movie. Let's talk about something really good about this movie. Pretty much every scene with Bakugo in it was a good scene. It was a good part of this movie that made me happy. Bakugo is not necessarily my favorite character. He's one of the characters I really love. But I don't want you guys to think that I'm just loving Bakugo's scenes because he's my favorite character. That's not true. If you must know, my favorite characters are Best Jeanist, Gang Orca, and Aizawa, and Mirio. But Bakugo's up there as well because he's hilarious and he's had some of the best character development of any anime character I've seen in a long time. So I appreciate that. He was very one note in this movie, to be honest. He was just playing classic Bakugo, where he tells the nerds to shut up and he calls people extras. And sidekicks and stuff. He was just being Bakugo, and he stole the scenes. He stole every scene he's in. If you don't want to watch this entire movie, but you have the ability to watch just Bakugo's scenes, I would highly suggest it. He was great. I did watch the English dub, which I really enjoy. And the voice actor for Bakugo is class. He's amazing. He's such a good voice actor. I hope that when My Hero Academia ends, or if it ever ends, but I assume it's gonna eventually, I hope that he gets a lot of work doing other shows and he just uses that voice for other characters, kind of like how Christopher Sabat does the Zorro voice in a lot of different animes, and you're like, oh, that's him. I don't know. I really like the guy who does Bakugo's voice in the English dub. But he kills it in every scene. That's one of the main reasons I suggest watching this movie, is to watch Bakugo just be Bakugo. Let's continue with the plot. So this cult sets off one of their bombs at the beginning of the movie. And it basically tells the world that they're a thing, which is insane. I assume they were testing the idea. Oh yeah, so their idea was they set that bomb off to get all the heroes in the whole world. I think that's why the only reason you can call this movie World's Heroes Mission is because of this part of the movie, when the entire, well, at least all the heroes that we know of and a sprinkle full of characters we've never seen before that don't do anything, basically all align, and it seemed like mostly Japan heroes were trying to save the world. I know they were basically the only ones we saw, I guess, but it was mostly Japan's heroes. But so pretty much everybody from Class 1A, Deku, Bakugo, and Shoto with Team Endeavor go on the main mission to take out this cult. Almost immediately, they're suited up. Bakugo, Deku, and Shoto are putting on their new outfits that you saw in the trailer. If you've seen the trailer to this movie, or you've seen promotional material for this movie, you've seen Bakugo, Deku, and Shoto in their new black gear, where they're all like ready. It looks like they're going to go on a covert mission. Them, along with Endeavor's entire agency, go hit some mansion hideout for this cult almost immediately after we see the aftermath of the first explosion of this bomb. And Deku and them are wearing their new outfits, the one they promoted, the one they put in the game to promote. They made these outfits in the video game, My Hero Academia One's Justice 2, as a free download to promote this movie. And they used these outfits for, I shit you not, less than 5 fucking minutes to raid this house, this hideout thing, and really do nothing in them. Like, they didn't have to fight like some main villain. There was a couple little jobbers to beat up for a hot second. Like, it was maybe 5 minutes of action. Oh man. And they never put those outfits on again. Like, they do eventually take off those outfits, right? Because they went on that mission, it was a dud, and the main head of the cult was not there. They were after that dude. They needed to figure out what to do to stop all these bombs. So, I don't know. They just like, I feel like in the first movie, they made it very convoluted why the entire group of Class 1A were on that island together. Or at least most of them were on the island. They made it really complicated when they could have just said they were on a field trip. And in this one, I feel like they made it overly complicated. Like, they made the plot so complicated for no reason. I get the idea of a human cult that have no quirks, but they hate people with quirks, and they think they're going to cause it makes so much sense. People with no quirks would gather and say, this isn't fair. One, they'd be jealous as shit. And two, they wouldn't say they're jealous. They would say that, no, people with quirks are evil, or they're a burden on society. I could imagine a group like that coming together and maybe recruiting some people with quirks as well who agree with them that want, or their life sucks and they want to be part of this group because they're afraid, and they're like, we'll help you guys if you let us live. I can imagine that part was kind of a bugaboo for me, was like the amount of people in this cult with quirks that are going to live in the society that they want to make by eliminating most of people with quirks. 80% of this society has quirks. So there was a large portion of these people with quirks that were helping out them. And it felt like they only did that so they can have people with powers fight people with powers at the end of the movie. Which I'm happy that there was super villains to fight at the end of the movie, because otherwise they would have fought regular humans. People without quirks. Which I'm not against. I am not against the idea of them taking on just regular people, maybe like well-trained fighters. Maybe they're using equipment, they're using quirk enhancement items so they have powers, or weapons. They could use really advanced weapons to help to even the odds. Or they could be super tactical with the way they fight. And maybe have one or two, maybe three people with quirks in their ranks that are very powerful, that somehow they wrangled into their team. Maybe one of them was forced to work with them because threat to kill their family or daughter or something. And then maybe one of them is just a psychopath and just wants to see the world burn. And then one of them is doing it because he's afraid. They could have done something like that. They could have built up some main villains for our heroes to fight at the very end. There were villains for our heroes to fight at the very end, don't get me wrong. And some of those fights were really cool. Bakugo's, in particular, was insane. The best fight in this entire movie was Bakugo versus these twins. I believe they were twins, or it was one guy that can split into two, and he can manipulate chains. They can manipulate chains that come out of their body. Razor sharp chains. He goes head to head with Bakugo. You hear I'm describing the villain and not telling you their name or somewhat of a name. They weren't given enough screen time, character development with the villains to make you give two shits what the names of these characters were. In the last movie, I remember the character of Chimera, the blue wolf man creature, the Chimera dude. I remember him because he was badass, and they gave him a little bit of character development. You could kind of imagine what he's been through a little bit from the little bit of dialogue he was given. Most of the villains in My Hero Academia World's Heroes Mission were not given any dialogue, or they were just there when they just showed up when they needed a fight to happen. But other than that, they weren't involved in the plot. There was one villain in this plot that actually, other than the blue man that really didn't do a whole lot, there was this girl that was pretty cool that was part of this cult that I thought was going to lead to something. She could turn her arm into a bow and arrow, well, just a bow, and then she carried different arrows that she could manipulate somehow. Or maybe they were just heat-seeking or something. But she was basically an archer, like a Hawkeye type villain, Green Arrow type character. But her arm could turn into a bow. There's a villain in the manga that has shown up recently that can turn her arm into a sniper rifle, and it reminded me a lot of that. And this girl had this bow and arrow, and she kind of had development. She was kind of just hunting them. So Deku gets intertwined with this other kid who had no business being in this movie at all, just to be fucking Deku's sidekick friend guy. This guy, his name was Rhodey, I think, or Brody. It was so hard to tell. I felt like at some point he said Brody, and later on in the movie they were like, Rhodey! So I'm going to say Rhodey. This kid with brown hair that reminds me a lot of Hawks in his mannerisms and the way his face looks. I don't know why. The dude reminds me of Hawks. He's going around with his little bird. He's got a little bird friend that's really cool. He's funny. He's going around doing crimes to make money for him and his family. So to break this down as quickly as possible, his dad left them, him and his brother and sister, when they were children, left them to join this cult. But he doesn't know this, but he was forced to join this cult because he was an engineer or something to build these bombs, I think, for them. I think. It was I don't know. It was dumb. It was fine. It was a fine story. It wasn't dumb. It was fine. It was touching. He's like, well, I'm going to take care of you guys no matter what I have to do, hook or crook. Dude becomes a criminal, like a petty theft type criminal, and he just helps. He really doesn't have a quirk. He does have a quirk, but he doesn't have some kind of quirk that helps him be a criminal or anything like that. For most of the movie, you think he's just a regular guy. And I was like, it's fine. I don't care if he's a regular guy. But he's doing these crimes at the beginning of the movie for a hot second. You get the gist that he's been doing them for a minute to put food on the table. He gets mixed up with Deku, Bakugo, and Shoto, who happen to be going on a fucking grocery trip. And, he gets mixed up with them. Deku gets blamed for murder. It was really weird. Like, they really built up this Deku is a murderer in the trailers, and people advertising this movie like, Deku's a murderer, what's going to happen? Like, it's going to be like this big mystery, but really the cops were just paid off to say that Deku murdered like 12 people. And they barely talk about it after that. Like, he's like on TV, on the news, Deku and this kid. Basically, it's just Deku, but the kid's involved as well. The one that helped him, who accidentally stole a briefcase with information in it about it had information about the cult and a key to stop the bombs around the world inside of it. He accidentally stole this, but it was supposed to be jewels, and it got all mixed up. It was really convoluted, like almost unbelievably possible that this would happen. Because there was like there was like a jewelry heist thing that was going on, but at the same time, this dude with the other briefcase that looks exactly the same as the jewelry briefcase, they get swapped after the girl with the bow and arrow quirk shoots the dude driving the car with his briefcase, and it makes a big car crash. It was insane. It sounds crazy because it's that convoluted. Regardless, so Deku and this kid Rhodey are on the run for a while. Like, there's a whole 30 plus minutes, I feel, where it's just Deku and this kid, this guy, Brody. and they're on this road trip. They get attacked a couple times by the girl with the bow and arrow here and there, but I shit you not. I know this review is getting long, but there's so much to I shit you not. Midway through this movie, while Deku and this kid are on the run, there's a music montage, and it wasn't like a bad song or anything. It was like a Japanese song in the middle of the movie, like a really touching song, like dramatic. I don't know. It was just scenes of Deku and this kid on a road trip, and then really long scenery scenes, like still frame scenery scenes during this like 3-minute song, like a full 3-minute song in the middle of the movie that had nothing to do with the plot except them on a road trip having a good time, because I think the kid steals a fucking car. It's ridiculous. I looked at my wife and I was like, why is this happening? Like, could you imagine if you brought a friend or a girlfriend or your parents or your little brother or your older siblings, and you were trying to convince them that My Hero Academia is worth watching, or you just wanted someone to go with you to the movie, and they're like, I don't want to go see this. I don't like cartoons, or I don't like anime, or I do like anime, but it's My Hero Academia, it's dumb. What if they were saying these things? I'm not saying, I love My Hero Academia. And you're trying to take your friends and family and girlfriends and all that thing, boyfriends, whatever, just to show them something you love, and you love from the anime. I mean, we had 4 perfect seasons of My Hero Academia that were pretty damn good. And amazing like inspiring moments that we love and we remember and we go back and watch all the time because we love this series. And you want to show a piece of that. That's what these movies are for. Give us like a piece of that. And you want to show your family what that is. I feel like you're not going to get that from this movie. There's a music montage, a Japanese music montage. So if you're not into anime at all, and you were forced to go see this movie with your significant other, I would be frustrated. I'd be like, this is really exactly what I did not want to see. Like with these anime movies, unless they're canon, which most of them are not canon to the story, like the Demon Slayer one was like last year that broke all the records. It was canon to the story. It was a big moment. If they wanted to do like the war arc in My Hero Academia, the manga, in movie form, they could have done that, and it would have been amazing. Some canon material that develops a lot of characters, not just Deku and this random movie character that has nothing to do with the plot, and we'll probably never see him ever in the anime. We spend all this time with this kid Rhodey and learning about his backstory with his dad and his brothers and his brother and his sister, and it's going to amount to absolutely nothing in the end. So these movies shouldn't be... That's where the Dragon Ball movies get it right most of the time, is they don't waste time with this convoluted plot. They set up a fight, or they debut some villains. They give you what they at least have 1 or 2 villains that have a backstory or a motive, and they have a team of other villains that work for them, that will fight the other side characters, and we will have a series of battles. And that's what you come to these movies for. They're like a pro wrestling pay-per-view. That's what these movies should be, unless they're canon material. They should be a pro wrestling pay-per-view. You don't need a bunch of promos of characters talking. You just want to come to these movies for the fights. And that's where the last movie did really well, is they did have a little bit of plot with the little boy and little girl on the island. But the main part of the story was the battle with Nine and his crew. the Chimera, the girl with the red hair swords, Nine, who has a memorable name, Chimera has a memorable name, Mummy. I remember the Mummy dude that can turn things into mummies. That was a fun little fight. There was problems with that movie, don't get me wrong, but overall I really enjoyed it up until the very end of it with the, with Bakugo losing his memory plot bullshit. But the idea that they focused more on the battles, they even let Tsukiyomi, Dark Shadow, and Mina Ashido fight Slice, the girl with the blade hair, who I remember her name. I remember all the villains from the last movie. I remember their names because they didn't even give them all a whole lot to say. They gave Nine some stuff to say, and they gave Chimera a couple things to say. But they developed them so well with mostly action that I remember them. And they also gave a shit ton of members of Class 1A screen time. Even the minor ones got some screen time. I think Coda and Sugar Rush were the only ones that really didn't get a whole lot to do, but they did get to protect some people. Even Sugar Rush got to throw some hands with Chimera. In this movie, in World Heroes Mission, you're not only on a road trip with Rhodey and Deku, you're waiting to see the other characters, and you're disappointed because the beginning of the movie shows teams of heroes that are around the world in different countries helping protect and find these bombs. And they give you flashes of them. They say like one word or a sentence. They don't do anything but support. They take characters I like Shoji and like I said earlier in the video, Gang Orca, one of my favorite pro heroes in this series, who had a badass debut going head to head with Todoroki and Deku and just throwing hands, has a really cool look, seems ultra powerful. And I know they do this in the show, but they've taken him and Shoji and Jiro and just turned them into the sonar group, the lookout group that don't fight, which is fine. I'm glad they gave them something to do. They gave everybody something to do, but it was just like one-off shots of them throwing cars and saving people randomly in chaos. Oh my god, the chaos. So there was so much disorienting visuals in this movie. It was a pretty movie. To me, it didn't look much better than the anime, to be honest. There was a few scenes that were really well animated, that were superbly animated. Mostly the main fights with Deku and this blue dude, leader of the cult, and Bakugo's fights were very well animated. Bakugo's fight was amazing. They definitely gave you that Dragon Ball Z style fight with him going head to head with this chain guy. But it also made me think of Naruto, my wife as well. This chain dude was pretty cool. He was a cool villain that had no development at all. You didn't really know who he was until he showed up to fight Bakugo. And Todoroki had a fight as well at the end of the movie against a henchman that had literally zero development. We didn't see these two villains, at least that I remember, until they showed up to fight Todoroki and Bakugo. One of the best scenes in the movie, I just want to say this now before I forget, is Bakugo helping Deku and Todoroki. They find the computer chip inside the briefcase, thanks to Rhodey, who solved the puzzle that his dad gave him, that the same puzzle was in the briefcase, blah, blah, blah. He helps them get the chip. But the best part about this is Bakugo shows how smart he is. They show it in the anime a lot, and I like that they did this in this movie. They showed Bakugo put the damn chip. Well, the chip was put in the computer. Deku was like, how are we gonna... There's so many files in this. And he moves him aside, and he's like, "What was the last timestamp on this cartridge or this memory card? Are you idiot? You nerd?" And he was actually very computer smart, which is really cool. And you almost expect it now because he's like really good at cooking. Bakugo's just really good at everything. But you think he's earned it because he puts a lot of work into what he does. I just thought that was really cool. But his fight was insane, well animated. Even though my only complaint about his fight was everything felt zoomed in. This whole movie during the fight scenes felt zoomed in. There was so much chaos. I was sitting pretty far back in the theater, but it felt like I was sitting up on the very front row. And if you ever seen, it almost felt like a Transformers movie. Yes, if you ever watched a Transformers movie close up, it's impossible to understand what the fuck was going on. Like, at least in the last movie, the end fights were beautifully animated and crazy light show at the end when Bakugo and Deku go crazy plus ultra super saiyan, and they're colorful and they're flying, zipping around, beating the shit out of Nine. It didn't seem I don't know. The animation was not as good as the last movie. It really just felt like the anime, like almost like a straight to TV anime movie. There was a couple spots that were insanely well done, but nothing to write home about. And like I said, Bakugo's fight with the no-name villain, with the Chain villain, was really good and cool to see. And it would be great for people to make music videos on YouTube with later on. But it really had no impact on the story. The villain he fought really didn't matter. You didn't care. At the end, when Deku was fighting the main villain, the blue dude can reflect. He had an ability as well. He had a quirk. And his whole reasoning for making this cult and fighting the world with it was his ability, his quirk was reflection. And it was always on. And he can never hug his parents. He can never love people. And he hates his quirk. And he thinks quirks are evil. But he believes in this quirk apocalypse. He just wants to see the world burn because his life sucks. But it makes you think that he could have just tried a little harder and maybe met Aizawa. Aizawa, the guy, maybe look up in Eraserhead, the hero from Japan who can erase quirks. So maybe he could help you out. So you can maybe they can use his ability somehow to help you. There's an erasing quirk bullet in Japan. I know that's probably not all well known. It was very developmental and there's only a few actually in existence. But maybe there's something like that out there that can turn your quirk down a little bit. Well, for sure, Aizawa's out. There's ways to make. I mean, I get it. Your back's against the wall, but you developed a cult, and you developed a quirk-hating society with a quirk, and you gathered people with quirks to fight on your side, and we don't know why, really. One of them just says, we want to be the ones that live in the new society, so we want to fight with them. And Bakugo's like, oh, so you're just a bunch of cowards that are afraid that you're going to lose the world, you're going to die, so you join them. And I was like, yeah, I guess that they're trying to explain it through Bakugo, which makes me feel better, because when Bakugo says stuff, it's funny. And he's usually right when he says things. Like I said, Bakugo's fight was fantastic. Todoroki's fight was almost non-existent. He was just drowning underwater for a while until he decided to explode with a fire flash fist. Bakugo hit an amazing howitzer impact at the end. It was insane. Almost too big for me. I was like, I didn't know he could do that. Oh, man. Speaking of characters we didn't get to see in the movie, though, would be Aizawa and Ida. Ida didn't even leave Japan. He didn't get to go on any task force for this mission, which is fine. But he's pretty much... I'm trying to think of somebody else. Maybe Koda. I don't think Koda was out there either. I think Koda was back at home. Ida and Koda were the only ones that didn't get to... Annie Voice, I'm pretty sure, is Koda. Were the only ones that didn't get to go out and help fight, I believe. Maybe Sugar Rush. Sato. But most of them of Class 1A and some of Class 1B. A few Class 1B members were out there. But Ida had to sit at home with Teacher Aizawa. Ida, the man who was basically one of the main characters in the first 3 seasons. Maybe 2.5 seasons. I feel like they gave Ida a lot of character development in Season 2 and in Season 1. And a little bit in Season 3. Mainly Season 2, but it made me feel like Ida was going to be part of this 3 best friends main character group with Shoto and Izuku, but then they turned Bakugo baby face because he was kind of a dick heel. You didn't know if he was going to be a villain or a hero at the beginning, but now you know for sure he could never be a villain. So he took the spot that Ida was in when it was the 3 best friends. And they could not have fit a 4th one in. And there's no way they're going to let Uraraka do anything of importance for no reason, even though she's great. And she had an amazing character development moment when she fought Bakugo in the damn sports festival. Sorry. But I feel like she could have been a part of some of these stories. And usually she's just off doing things with Froppy, which is fun, but she's been doing it since season flippin' 4? The beginning of season 4, maybe? I don't know. Either way, her and Froppy have just been doing the same old shtick for a while now. Either way, they don't get to do really anything but save people. Everybody in this movie, besides Shoto, Bakugo, Deku, and this new dude, Rody, who really, in my opinion, had nothing to do in this plot other than save the day at the very, very end. But I feel like if they wanted to write this movie as a road trip movie, they didn't need to make it a world-ending thing. They could have just had this secret society that Deku, Shoto, and Bakugo were after, and they could have had them, the secret society who had people working as police members, put this warrant on their arrest saying they killed 12 people if they have to. Let Bakugo, Deku, and Shoto use their new uniforms, the black new uniforms, as like the ones they developed for this movie, that they showed the first 10 minutes of the movie and never put back on. By the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned this. At the end of the movie, they get out of street clothes and put on their superhero outfits again. But they just put their regular anime outfits on. But they promoted these new outfits through the video game, through the trailer, hard, like it's going to mean something. And pretty much all the best stuff... the scenes in the anime were all the scenes in the beginning of the movie. And these guys don't use their cool stealth outfits with the hoods and all that. They go in their regular outfits. And that just blows my mind. I'm just like, why would you even develop these outfits other than to tease people that they're going to go super stealth and look badass doing it, and we're going to see them doing badass fights in new cool outfits, which isn't that important to me. But if you're going to promote it, put it in the movie. More, use it. If I want to see them fight in their regular superhero outfits, I'll watch them fight on the anime, and I can watch reruns and see that. I just don't understand. It blew my damn mind. It's not a big deal. It's just a little detail that made me frustrated. It's like, if the movie was great otherwise, if the movie was amazing other than them doing making the outfits at the beginning of the movie and then never wearing them again, I would have been like, that's fine. The movie was amazing. I don't care. Fuck those stupid outfits. But since the movie sucked, in a lot of ways. The plot and the villains. There was good parts of the movie. So the movie, just a lot of it sucked. I feel like I'm more frustrated with these little things because of how the majority of everything else was. Yeah. So at the end of the movie, they needed to get this stupid chip into the computer. Spoilers. To stop the bomb. Deku, Bakugo, and Shoto basically are beat the fuck up. Deku's like, he's just holding back the main villain at this point by going plus ultra. And he's fighting the dude that could reflect anything. So what did he do to beat the dude that can reflect anything, including punches and kicks? He punches him harder. He punches him so hard he can't reflect it. And gives us a big speech about why he loves heroes and that the villain's wrong and he's stupid. And then the dude Rhodey, he gets the chip. He gets shot in like the ribs with a laser beam, but he's got a quirk too, where he's got this little bird familiar that's like connected to his feelings. He uses the bird to fly over and put the chip in the computer, and it saves the day at like the last 60 seconds of the movie, of the time limit. They had like 8 hours or 4 hours or something just to stop the bombs also. But I feel like the time limit was just there to make us feel like the bad guys could win. There was at no point in this movie that I felt like the bad guys could win. I know you wouldn't in an anime movie that has no connection to the show at all, but when I feel like in the last movie, if they wanted to do something crazy, like Deku giving all for one, or one for all to Bakugo, and permanently make that a thing in this movie universe, but not affect the anime, I could have seen them doing that and been like, see, we did something crazy that could be permanent, but only in this movie verse that we've created, and show this alternate world where Bakugo's a hero now. In the next movie, they continue that. I don't know. I could have seen them doing that. It was almost like mind-blowing. They decided to do the thing where Deku kept his powers, but still, they did something crazy. This movie never did anything crazy. Alright, bottom line, this movie was okay, and I suggest you watch it for free. It's not bad. It's not great. It's good. The best parts were with Bakugo. Disappointed me that I didn't get to see a lot of the other fan favorites, but they teased them. I would have been fine with a small cast of just Shoto, Bakugo, and Deku, and a few spots with Endeavor. If they just wanted to do that crew, that's fine, but don't show the whole army of World Heroes Mission doing shit in the trailer if you're barely going to use them just to inspire Deku in the end and just do a cliche ending. Happy, everybody's saved. And I miss All Might. P.S. I miss All Might. All Might was in this movie. He said a couple words like young Bakugo. He said young Bakugo, young Todoroki, and young Izuku Midoriya so many times. He was in like some weird computer room. It feels like they put this plot together in an hour, and they kind of did it as they went. It was fine. My suggestion, if they want to do another movie, is either make it canon and make it matter and use canon material, or just do a tournament and have the heroes fight each other in badass fights. Don't even worry about the plot. Do a sports festival movie with them, like somehow just don't even explain where this is in the timeline. Just gather all the kids, throw a couple random movie characters, badass movie superheroes in it. Have like a tournament and make that into a movie. Use great animation. It will sell, sell, sell. I'm Mr. Morfetto. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll talk to you later.